Nate, this is
Well,
live.
good morning. You are on the podcast community. I'm Podcast Pete. In the middle is Jim Raps, and we have a special guest. Now, Jim Raps is our commercial connector. So, Nate, having met him last night at a comedy event, Nate's been one of Jim's right-hand men. His daughter is definitely the right hand. Maybe, Nate, or you think it'd be the left hand of Jim?
Quite likely.
Okay, we'll consider you one of the hands. Okay,
Yes.
so Jim, first you tell who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then Nate will go right after you.
Yeah, Jim Raps, Riddley Commercial Cleaning. We clean the commercial space, so any commercial building, most any commercial building. We prefer Cobb, Fulton, those areas, but we work in the entire state, and we've been known to go further than that. So we clean the commercial building. Every commercial building, somebody is cleaning it. It's either in-house or they have a service. All right. So those are the opportunities we're looking for. And Nate over here, he joined, give it a little introduction. He joined us about 3 years ago as a worker, cleaner, cleaning buildings. And we just got to know him and like him more, and saw that he had what we feel is the right stuff to make this work. And we needed help with management. And so we said, Nate, what do you think? He goes, yeah, sure. And Nate says, yeah, sure, to a lot of stuff. That's part of the thing, is he's got a great attitude. And so he slid into this spot. We've worked with him and trained him on how to do this. He is our operations manager, and doing a great job. And take it away, Nate.
So go ahead. Yeah, Nate, your name, who you're with, and who you serve.
Well, my full name is Nathaniel Charles Hecker, and I've been with Riddley a little over 3 years, and I've been really lucky. At first, I knew how to do some things, but that was what was really good about working with Jim and Melissa, is that they provided all the training I needed to switch into a new role. I used to be in food. Since then, it's been incredible that I've learned more and more, and they've taught me more and more. And working my way up from a cleaner to a manager, it's been rewarding. You get all sorts of nifty stories, and a whole ton of experience that I was just not getting doing other things, and I've really enjoyed it.
That's I love how you framed it. Like it's easy to manage yourself. That's a given. It's always harder when you step out and now you have to manage others. What was when you made that first jump, that first year, or that first part of that? What was your biggest challenge that you faced? Because you can easily manage yourself, but now you're talking about others.
Well, I won't lie. I had only been in the cleaning industry for a few years, and at times managing people that had decades of experience. I had the training from Jim and Melissa. I knew what I was supposed to do. But it is a little intimidating to tell somebody that's older and has way more experience what they need to do. So I would probably pick that. There's other things. I won't lie. Learning how to answer the volume of emails has been tricky. I actually had to ask a number of people from BNI how they handle it, and prioritizing and blocking Home Depot, because Home Depot always wants to know about their last experience, which I can't blame them from a marketing standpoint, but filling up my email or inbox is a problem.
Yes, I think, just before you share with our viewers your additional thoughts, I think email is probably the biggest challenge productivity wise, because I heard it explained to me one time before. You're talking to other people's priorities. They're sending their priorities to you, and you have your priorities. Now you got to balance them. So for our viewers, because that's a very good point. Today, it's very difficult to do that. what was going on in your life? You said something about food. Were you in the restaurant business before?
Well, right before this, I worked at Publix, and
Okay.
I was in a managerial track there too, but it wasn't fitting.
Yeah.
I liked food. I really love food, actually, but I wasn't. It didn't quite fit right for me. And I've always, I've always been able to, as a janitor or a cleaner, you have to deal with some gross things at times, and that's never been a problem for me. So it's a better fit in the cleaning industry, and I found a home that I wouldn't have expected, but it's definitely a home.
What do you think? I've always wondered this because it was, I mean, kind of sort of when you're working at home, you're in a familiar environment every day. Now you're out making calls on facilities, you're
Mm-hmm.
checking up on things versus being in a four walls like with Publix.
Mm-hmm.
What helps that you're out seeing different people, different situation versus in a closed wall all day long, 7 days a week? What did that have a bearing on really you as a person? Because you're a personable person. Yeah, I would
Well,
think that's harder to be in a four walls, but talk to our
it
viewers.
is. I love people. However, when you're in the food industry, you're dealing with 300 somewhat strangers every day. Whereas now I'm dealing with a certain number of clients I know, some new ones, and then the
Yeah,
employees. There's less people. So the reaction or interactions, excuse me, are a little bit more meaningful, a little bit more substantive. And you were talking about being out in the field and visiting all these different places that it's almost exciting, like, because you're right, you get so used to being in the same spot in other industries, and the same four walls. But with what I do now, it's almost like an adventure, like I don't know necessarily always at the very beginning of the day whether I'm going to be all like in South Atlanta or North Atlanta. It could be all over, or for a while up in Tennessee even. That and it's neat because you get to go in, and admittedly you're cleaning when you do it, but you get to go into the places that most of the public don't get to see. And in a way that actually comes with a certain like there's a privacy that we give our customers, that cleaners have always been in that position, that they always go behind the scenes. And it is neat, very neat. There's some stories we can talk about, things that are, okay to say, but then there's a lot of it that it's the privacy of the customer, that's what they get with us, that we respect, that their spaces are their spaces. And, but it's an interesting thing though, to get to see everything, but still have that, I guess, anonymity for them. I'm not sure what the right word would be, but
yeah. No, I know, I think it's a different experience and it's not for everybody, but for the people that enjoy people, enjoy learning and enjoy, like you said something at the beginning, like, when you think of cleaning, it's not glamorous. I mean, the challenging thing today is our youth have gotten this YouTube syndrome, I call it, where they think they can become a YouTube star by just putting a couple YouTubes out there. And the idea of working hard is not really kind of embraced because they want the glory
yeah.
before they have the hard work. I mean, like, that's so, I think, profound to say, hey, look, it's not a glamorous business, but it's a rewarding business
Yeah.
because you're pouring yourself into the clients and helping them through it. So I'm glad you brought that point up. And I want to ask Jim a question, then we'll come back to you, Nate, in just a second. So, Jim, building a team, building a company, no easy feat. What did you see in Nate that all of a sudden 3 years later he's a valuable part of your team that gave you that gut feeling or whatever you want to say to offer him that opportunity to move up within to the management ranks?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Look, Nate has a can-do attitude. All right. You need something done. Nate says, I'll take care of it. You have to have people like that in this business. That's probably was and is the most attractive thing to us in putting Nate into this role. Going back a little bit to a question you asked him, what was maybe the most challenging thing? He hit the nail on the head, I believe, but I would put it as he needed to, and still working on, developing that confidence. The confidence that, yeah, you're going to make a mistake now and then. Now, big decisions, he comes to us with the big decisions, but learning how to make more of those decisions on your own and being confident that you're making the correct decision. Also, what I think Nate liked about this job, where a lot of people that work for us, Pete, this is one of the attractive things to this position, or these positions, because they're all different, right? We clean, but we clean in so many different ways, in so many different places, and so many different shifts and hours and all that. There's a lot of flexibility in this. So people working in a box every day or in a cubicle every day, I'd rather shoot myself. I'm not that kind of person. That's kind of how an entrepreneur feels, and that's what we get a lot with the people that work for us, because they're used to working for bosses, and I don't like to see myself as a boss. I like to see myself as a coworker. Right? But the flexibility, the variety, because you're in someplace different almost every day. You have new challenges every day. We put a new account on this week. Nate's been back 3 times because they're having trouble with their locks on the front door. And it was like the first night we cleaned, it's kind of like we got accused of not locking, but it's not us. They have a lock problem. So doing that and working through it, and give you 2 more quick stories on Nate. So talk about not glamorous. At the very beginning, I think, of his starting as a manager, we had him dumpster diving. So
I know.
In Chambly, right?
That was where you're
in Chambly. So Nate's literally in a dumpster all day long pulling stuff out, because I forget what the situation was, but he had to pull some stuff out of the dumpster and we didn't have to do this for the manager of the facility. We did it anyway. We didn't even charge extra for it. And then another thing he just did this past weekend is we took on a sort of a contract with a local church in Marietta, and they needed us to provide, they had a big festival going on, a Greek festival, and they needed us to provide porter service, 2 people, 3 days in a row, some really weird hours. And they wanted us to do that to just keep their bathrooms clean. And at the last minute, the couple that we had to do it pulled out. They couldn't make it. Nate was there all 3 days during that festival.
Wow.
Making sure that this would happen, and he pulled it off, and they're happy. They're happy, and they said, "Hey, we're going to call you back again next year for this." And that's not really what we do. We don't really provide labor, but we're happy to do it, and we want to position ourselves to be their janitorial service once they're ready for that. We want to clean the church. So, but that's going above and beyond, and that's really what Nate brings to the table.
Yeah, I love that. You guys came to the comedy night at Grace Church, and so I was there, like doing some things, receiving in food. I'll tell you a quick story later on the dumpster diving. That's a restaurant term, and we all dumpster dive, even in our ties and all that, because you have to find out where a person buys stuff. That takes going into the dumpster. Not everybody wants to hang out in a dumpster, I can tell you that, but it's going the extra mile. And when you would do that, you could maintain the ability to connect with that account. So yeah, we do some crazy things sometimes that the average person would say, "You did that?" Yeah, you do whatever it takes. Okay, but back to Grace. So I'm there and I'm watching this person clean. And I said, "What are you doing cleaning?" "Oh, I don't mind doing it." And I always like this, because my Physical therapists did the same thing. Now, the first 2 months they were open, they were out there cleaning everybody. I believe in the all hands on deck mentality. But when you take people that think they're saving money because they're doing the task that they're doing, you can't do the higher level tasks. So, Jim, I want you to speak, and then maybe Nate, you can comment too. What about your do-it-yourselfers that, just say, all right, I'm going to jump in and clean after work. Talk to our people about that.
Well, first of all, when to the business owner, for the most part, when you hire people to wash your dishes, if it's a restaurant, not that we clean restaurants, but or you hire a secretary, hire somebody in a position, and then you say, oh, by the way, you need to run the vacuum and clean the toilets. That's not what they're there for. They're not going to do it right. They don't want to do it. And look, it's everybody thinks they can clean. Okay. Whether it's competition of ours or a potential client. Competition, they have a vacuum and a spray bottle and maybe a rag, and they throw it in the trunk of their car, and they're in the cleaning business, but they're not insured. They don't have the experience. They don't know what they're doing. Everybody can clean, yes, but not everybody can clean for profit. There's a big difference. Whether you're the small operator thinking you're in a cleaning, you have a cleaning business because you have that vacuum and that rag, or you're a business where you're like you said, Pete, then you're spending your valuable time and resources on doing something that's not conducive to building your business.
Yeah.
People are sometimes surprised at how little it costs to get their building professionally cleaned. And, for the average smaller office, I'd say up to 20 employees, you only really need once or twice a week. And sometimes people even want it less than that. So really, when they call us and we go in and we give them a quote, sometimes we're getting like, is that it? Why have we been cleaning it ourselves all this time?
Yeah.
So, that's, I hope that answered the question.
No, it did very much. But I love always asking different people the same question. So, Nate, for those people out there that are the do-it-yourselfers, anything you can add to what Jim has just shared with us that you think our viewers can benefit from?
Between me, Jim, and Mel, we have, I believe, 75 years experience. There's things about cleaning that unless you do it all the time, you're not going to know. If you do it all the time, and you've done it, as an example, as Jim has for right close to 50 years, the amount of knowledge of what can be cleaned to make a room look better is just, it never ends. There's always something more to learn. So I would just succinctly, you will get a cleaner building if you hire somebody that's a professional. And it's not that people, I guess, can't clean. It's that, as an example, sink drains. Right around a sink drain is a little bit of a lip. If you don't get the dirt out from underneath the lip, the sink gets dirty within about 24 hours, and you'll start seeing dirt because it has a place to stick onto. The average person doesn't necessarily know that. The average professional cleaner at Riddley's not only knows it, but we know how to just do it quickly, do it efficiently, and you come out and it's just a much better result.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just simply speaking, if you're going to do it yourself, you're probably not going to get anywhere near as good of a result. And when your office looks kind of dirty, clients don't like it. It's just that simple.
Or employees.
You're costing yourself business when you could have, as Jim said, hired Riddley. And it's not. We're not exorbitant. We're very much an affordable, institution that. And to turn down that advantage, just it does not make sense in the long run. That you end up better.
I'd like to add, it's not just for your visitors to your business, it's your employees. You're cleaning for them as well. People would rather work in a clean environment, and many studies have been done that a proper cleaning and disinfecting service keeps your employees healthier.
Absolutely.
And when
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I got COVID. Can you hear me, guys?
I can hear you. Jim seems to have frozen.
Yeah. If you can hear us, Jim, close out some browsers. I found out that any open browsers can interfere with audio. I forgot to tell you at the beginning before that.
I lost my signal, guys.
So there. Okay, no problem. So, but what we were going to, while you're getting settled in, I'll just comment on that. So I went to Richmond, and my mom's 94, and she was in the waiting room, emergency room for like all night, 8 hours. And of course she got COVID, gave it to my two sisters, gave it to me. So I come home with COVID. So I have to get my, my studio is where I live. So I can't have a dirty work environment. Well, when they came to clean, oh my gosh, 3 hours, 3 people, deep cleaning. And I understood cleaning for maybe the first time, because what she said was a lot of people just use the same rag. So let's just say if you're in the bathroom, you're cleaning the bedroom, using the same rag because you don't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
And so you think you're cleaning, but all you are is just taking dirt from the bathroom.
So there's a word for that. That's called
Mm-hmm.
cross-contamination.
Yes.
All right. So we, in the daycare centers that we clean, you don't, and same thing would apply to a restaurant. Do you know how many times you go into a restaurant and the floors are greasy? It's because they're using the same mop that they mop the kitchen with to mop the front of the house. And in a daycare center, you're not going to use the same mop you're using in the bathroom as you're going to do in the infant room. Right. I mean, but people do it all the time. So it's those little things that the average employee doesn't know. And quite frankly, they don't care. Mm-hmm. They're there to do their job.
Yes.
They're not properly. Here's another one. Most people don't know how to properly clean with the disinfectant.
Yeah.
They just spray it on and wipe it off. And
doesn't work that way.
There's a lot of little nuances.
And I think for the novice, it's common because I'm actually an OCD clean type person, but I had no earthly idea just moving dirt around and cross-contaminating is something that if the person is not aware that's doing it, all they're doing is moving the dirt and cross-contaminating. You're thinking you're getting your place clean. And I wanted to go back to your point with the do-it-yourself. So many people think that I'm going to step up and do everything. But if you're a business and you're supposed to be doing this and you're cleaning, you are losing opportunities because everybody has a certain amount. I call it energy units every day. And let's say you get 100 units and you spend 10 of those doing something you shouldn't be doing. It's coming out of your units of energy. You have to be focused on what you do best, not what you can do. Everybody can maybe move a mop around, but how do you prepare that mop? What are you doing to not cross-contaminate? I'm glad you brought up that daycare because, man, when you talk about infants and cross-contaminate, that people need to be aware of those kind of things. So, Nate, I'm going to go back to you for a second. So, as the market's changing and labor is not as plentiful, what would you tell a person that's out there that maybe they're thinking about a new career or a new opportunity to work for a family business? What could you share with them that might get them thinking about, what? I like that kind of philosophy.
Well, I mean, if they're looking for a job in general or more one like in the cleaning industry,
I think because your experience when you said you were looking for a different challenge, and so you moved from the food business to what people will say is a dirty business.
Mhm.
And you're happy. And 3 years later, you've moved up to the management ranks. And, I'm sure from there, when Jim retires and travels all the time, he's going to need some assistance at the higher levels, because he's not getting any younger. I mean, he's almost getting as old as I am.
Thanks,
So,
Pete.
and
I don't know that I agree. I believe Jim is reverse aging at this point. I'm in complete and total denial about that.
I did too.
Um,
Yeah.
But as to what you were asking about, I would have to say, and it would be pertinent for any place, listen to your boss. And I'm pausing for a reason, that it's your boss. They've been doing it, and if after listening to them, if you're at a place and you just can't listen to your boss, you might need a different job. I found Jim, like he's even talking about like the confidence thing. Listening to him has not only taught me how to clean, but I'm building confidence. I'm better learning how to dress for business meetings, and I like working with him. Other than that, work hard. There's just no way around it. Like, yes, it is true. You could work hard and fail, but I don't think I have ever seen somebody succeed at anything that didn't apply themselves, didn't work hard, didn't listen to the people that knew what they were doing. Now, I'm fortunate. Like I said, Jim has like 50 years experience. There is no end to the information I can glean, So, it's with the information, and, Jim talks about, I have an attitude to just keep trying, keep working, keep learning, I don't say no. And hard work, it's just, you have to keep at it until you find the right place.
Okay, small correction.
Yes.
Small correction. It's 48 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know you say that, but I have trouble believing you didn't clean before you got paid for it. I'm sure your parents made you clean toilets.
Well, I didn't start when I was 15. I started when I was 17 in this business. So, look, yeah, and to that, wow, that's another whole podcast. But I used to bunk in the same share room with my younger brother Joey, and I love him, but what a pig. What a slob. He was like, they would joke in the house that if you remember The Odd Couple, Pete, I know you do.
Yeah. Oh,
I was Felix and he was Oscar.
Yeah.
So, Joey took off his underwear and just left it on the floor, and that would drive me crazy. And so I've always wanted a clean environment. It makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
If things are too cluttered or too dirty,
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been launching, it's called the Echo Effect, and it talks about working hard, delay gratification. And the last one is that small areas of improvement every day. A lot of times people read a book and they think that's going to change their life. Now, I'm not saying that a book can't influence you, but it's what you said, Nate. It's every day getting better, every day learning, every day asking those questions. Not just like, oh, I've got it figured out, but continuing to be in a position of learning, because there's a lady that teaches, well, she runs a podcast with me on mindset. And she talked about that very thing, that it takes every day working hard, every day getting better.
Well, Pete, the key, if I could interject, it's not knowledge. Knowledge is great. It's the application of the knowledge.
Yeah.
Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is not power if you just got it all up here and you don't do anything with it.
Yes.
I know a lot of very smart people. Actually, people who make me feel stupid. They're so smart, but they're struggling. Okay. And then I know people who really can hardly write a sentence, and they're very successful. So you tell me what's the difference? It's the action. That's the difference.
Yes, totally. Now, we can't have too many people from Riddley out of the workforce for too long. So Why don't we tell our viewers, Jim, how they get a hold of you, and then they can share the right
Sure.
info.
So my cell phone is 404-309-6093. My email address, as you see it, is jim@ridley with 2Ds LLC.com. And again, I put out my cell phone number for a reason. I don't mind being called on my cell phone. If I don't know you and you're calling me, I highly recommend you shoot me a text first and let me know that you're going to call me, because we get so many spam phone calls that it's impossible to answer all of them. So yeah, but that is my cell phone. Feel free to reach out to me if you want a no obligation. And I'm not the kind of person that, by the way, if you call me up and you ask me to come assess your facility and give you a written proposal, which I'm happy to do, I'm not going to harass you. I don't try to close you. I don't offer you some kind of special that's going to go away at midnight tonight if you don't buy. I'm not going to call you every day. I'm going to be there for you if and when you need us.
That's awesome. Nate, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, I do prefer the cell phone. I mean, as I said, email tends to be a bit cumbersome for me still, although I'm getting way better. Similar, I've started getting spam calls too. Once they make you a manager, people notice you. In fact, I had one earlier today, wanted to sell me insurance for the entirety of Riddley. And well, that's not how we handle that. But so yes, but I answered the cell phone as well. And, I'll hear a person out, and then if they want cleaning services, if that's why they're calling, then yeah, we will arrange, to do a walkthrough. And it's a no obligation walkthrough that, and we even encourage it. If you do feel like you're satisfied with your cleaning services, you can still get an estimate from us. It's a no obligation. And if you're not in the cleaning industry, it can be helpful for you to make future decisions. So I recommend calling us, even if you're not sure you need different services.
And I will add that, Pete, for anybody that is listening or watching, Nate's phone number is 404-973-7569. And his email address is the same as mine, except Nathaniel at the beginning of RidleyLLC.com.
Awesome. We will have that, because I have a feeling Nate's going to be back on the show.
You don't really need me. You got Nate now.
I know. I think you got to concentrate on the Mets, which are not as good as the Braves. So you're going to have your act together when you're on.
Look at the Mets can't win. The Knicks finally got eliminated, and the Rangers lost game 1 last night. So this is not a good time to talk to me about sports. Okay.
Yes, we don't want to be too sensitive about our sports. No, I mean, hey. So what I want as we go, I'm going to ask you one final question, and I'm going to put up here. If you're interested in knowing more about how to be a guest, you cannot be part of our community unless you're a guest on our podcast. Jim was a guest a long time ago. We want people that are givers. We want people that believe in giving back. And so we use podcasting as a way to filter people. So if that's something that you feel you're a giver, reach out to me at podcasterpetecane.com, 404-428-3006. So we'll go to the guest first, and then we'll go to Jim. All right, Nate, what would be the one thing you want our listeners to take home with them with our time with you on this podcast?
Well, I mean, there's a part of me that would love them to call us, but I wow, what would I have a podcast viewer take home with me, or take home with them? That was not a question I was anticipating.
This is kind of like 60 Minutes. We try to trip you up. Not really.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. But no, because think of our viewers. They're out there. They're listening. And you just share from your heart what you would want them to take home from our podcast. Nothing. There's no right or wrong.
Oddly enough, I guess it would, and this might sound a little cheesy at first, is that they're not alone. That there's cleaning services, there's handymen, there's plumbers, there's mechanics, there's everything out there. And if you reach out to a company like Riddley, who does these kind of podcasts, things like that, that has a very good reputation, we're not only going to be able to give you, you know, the accurate service that you're going to need for cleaning, but we could help you find something that you didn't know or were having trouble with. That, you know, sometimes you have to get something done for your business to work. And it's one of those, I say, handle the problems up front, just get them done, get them over with. You know, if you're unsure, ask questions.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, Jim, this one, I'm throwing you a curveball right now. So if you own the Mets, what would be the one thing you would do to turn them around?
I mean, I'm not even going to answer that question. I'm going to go back to the previous question.
Let's just say you're the owner and you have to do one thing that's going to try and get them on, on track.
That's the equivalent. That's the equivalent of a sucker punch right there. So
all right, we'll ask that on the podcast.
No.
Just go ahead. I mean, on the baseball guys.
I'm going to answer your absolutely ridiculous question. I like our owner very much. Steve Cohen grew up a Mets fan, and he is on the right track, I think, in hiring the right people. And I think, unlike George Steinbrenner in the day, he doesn't interfere with everything that they're doing. I think we're on the right track, but as someone who has now lived in the Atlanta area for almost 30 years, I have an unbelievable respect for the Atlanta Braves and what they do and how they run their organization. They got the best GM in baseball, and they win. And quite frankly, I'm jealous of it. They're really good at what they do. And I think if the Mets can model themselves more after the Braves and the Dodgers, they'll be better off. Money doesn't solve your problems, does it?
Nope.
You know, I know I've had money and I've had no money, and you can be happy or miserable with both. So money alone isn't going to solve that. Isn't going to save that team. But right now, the Braves and the Phillies are better than they are. That's just the way it is.
Man,
I didn't know this was a baseball podcast. I could go on.
Well, you know what? I always try to throw curveballs at my guest, and that was just a curveball. But I also share this because my mom is 94 and she wonders what I do. So I can send this to her and say, you know what? Here's somebody that's a Mets fan that thinks the Braves has a pretty strong team, and she does too. But
and if she's watching this, God bless you. My mother is 91. And she just was here visiting with us a few weeks back. And she is a 91-year-old woman who walks as fast as I do, keeps up with me in the airport, refuses the wheelchair, and is on 0 meds.
Wow.
0 meds. Good. She's 91, 0. It's unbelievable.
Ah, man, it's better than me. I'm on 4. And I've been trying to get off of them. So, and I'm not 94 either. So, I'm over here, and if I gave you a list of people's medications, it's a long list. Most people do take them. It is the nature of it.
When you live in a nation where they advertise drugs on TV every day and every night, and people go drug shopping, this is what you get, right?
Yep. No, true. I mean, so true. So, guys, thank you so much for being on the Commercial Connector podcast. This is Nate. This is Jim's podcast. So he has embraced you. I think he wanted to put you through humor first last night. I'm not sure if that was a sequence or not, but whatever it is, we appreciate you being a guest and coming on and sharing your thoughts with us.
Absolutely. So, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Pete.
All right. Y'all have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.